Welcome back to the Valuable Coins channel, where we explore the fascinating world of rare and valuable coins. Today, we have 6 very special pieces that collectors dream of owning, each with its own historical significance and a story that contributes to its immense value. The first coin we'll be diving into is the 1943 Lincoln Steel Wheat 1 cent with the large date and an error S mint mark in rusty condition. This coin is not just rare, it's also one of the most highly sought-after coins among collectors and enthusiasts. We'll look at the history behind it, its mintage numbers, the market value, and why it's so highly prized in today's auction scene. So, let's get started. The 1943 Lincoln Steel Wheat 1 cent is often considered one of the most iconic coins of the 20th century. To understand its value today, it's essential to look back at the historical context of its creation. During World War II, the U.S. Mint was facing a shortage of copper. With copper being needed for wartime production, especially for artillery shells, the government decided to mint coins out of steel instead. As a result, the 1943 Lincoln cent was produced using a zinc-coated steel planchet, making it look entirely different from its predecessors, which were made of copper. The 1943 steel cents were originally produced to save copper for the war effort, but they also ended up creating a significant amount of confusion among the public. These coins had a distinctive look, shiny and silvery in appearance, and because of this, many were initially mistaken for foreign coins. The change from copper to steel was a sharp contrast, and it garnered a lot of attention both at the time and for decades afterward. The large date variety of the 1943 Lincoln Steel Wheat 1 cent is significant in itself because it was part of a design change. The large date is often more noticeable than the small date, which was used for the majority of the 1943 steel cents. The large date variety is less common, and this is why it has always been a favorite among collectors. Its rarity, in addition to its historical importance, makes it a coin that is valued highly on the market. However, what truly sets this particular coin apart is the error mint mark, the S mint mark. You see, most 1943 steel cents were produced in Philadelphia, marked with no mint mark or a D mint mark, indicating production at the Denver Mint. But there are rare examples where a steel cent was struck with the S mint mark, which stands for the San Francisco Mint. This error is incredibly rare, and only a handful of these coins were ever produced. What makes the error particularly interesting is the fact that the San Francisco Mint did not produce any 1943 steel cents as a part of the regular production. This means that the existence of the S Mint mark on a 1943 steel cent is entirely a mistake, one that has intrigued collectors and numismatists for decades. The presence of an S Mint mark is what gives this coin its error status, and collectors are willing to pay a premium for it. Given the rarity of the coin and the error involved, it can command prices in excess of $300,000 in today's auction market. Its rusty condition only adds to the mystery and charm, as it tells a story of time spent in circulation and exposure to the elements. Despite the wear, this coin's inherent rarity and historical significance make it one of the highest value coins in the world today. Now, let's move on to the second coin in our video, the 1943 Lincoln Steel Wheat 1 cent, with a large date and a D mint mark in dirty condition. This coin, although slightly different from the first, holds its own unique place in the world of numismatics and holds significant value in the auction market. The 1943 Lincoln Steel Wheat 1 cent with the D mint mark is part of the same series as the previous coin, created during the Second World War when copper was redirected for wartime efforts. As mentioned before, these steel pennies were a temporary solution to the copper shortage, and the U.S. Mint struck over 1 billion of these coins in 1943. The 1943 D Lincoln Steel Wheat cent was produced at the Denver Mint, and while it is not as rare as some of the error varieties, it still holds significant value in the collector community due to its historical context and production numbers. The design of the 1943 Lincoln Steel Wheat cent features the image of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. On the obverse, Lincoln is shown in profile, facing left, with the inscription, "In God We Trust," above his image. The reverse features 2 wheat stalks encircling the words 1 cent, along with United States of America, and the mint mark, which in this case is D for the Denver Mint. The mintage of the 1943 Lincoln Steel wheat cent with the D mint mark was substantial. Over 430 million of these coins were produced at the Denver Mint, making it one of the most common varieties of the 1943 steel cents. While it's not as rare as the 1943 S error coin or the 1943 copper cent, which is one of the most famous coin errors in U.S. history, it still has significant value due to its historical relevance and the unique production process. One of the things that sets this coin apart in terms of its market value is its condition. While the 1943 Lincoln Steel wheat cent with the D mint mark is generally available, those in clean, high-grade condition can command higher prices. The dirty condition of this coin, however, adds a layer of rarity as it's not in pristine form. Coins in dirty or worn condition often sell for less than their cleaner counterparts, but they still retain historical and collector interest because of their age and the fact that they were part of a very unique production year. Despite its dirty condition, this coin has a notable market value. Depending on the specific condition of the coin and the degree of wear, it can still sell for tens of thousands of dollars, with some coins reaching over $100,000 in auctions. The value can vary widely, especially with factors such as the specific wear patterns, the level of detail remaining in the design, and the overall appeal to collectors. Coins in poor condition are often favored by collectors who specialize in error coins or historical pieces, making even a coin in dirty condition a valuable find. Both of these 1943 Lincoln Steel wheat cents, one with an error mint mark and the other with a more standard mint mark, are truly fascinating pieces of American coinage. They're symbols of a particular moment in history when the United States was at war and copper was needed for far more important matters than currency. The steel pennies of 1943 represent both the ingenuity and the necessity of wartime production, and their continued appeal in the collector's market proves how history can be captured in something as simple as a coin. Next up, the 1943 Lincoln Steel wheat 1 cent is one of the most iconic and sought-after coins in American numismatic history. This coin was produced during a pivotal time in U.S. history, World War II. As copper became scarce due to wartime production, the U.S. Mint shifted to using steel to make pennies in 1943. The switch from copper to steel marked a significant moment in the nation's wartime economy. But it also led to a number of fascinating errors and anomalies that collectors treasure today. The historical context of the 1943 steel penny is as fascinating as its design. In 1943, the United States was deeply involved in World War II, and copper was urgently needed for ammunition and other wartime materials. The U.S. government decided to switch the composition of the penny to a steel-based metal coated with zinc. The intention was to preserve the copper supply for military needs. This decision resulted in the striking of over 1 billion steel pennies, all featuring the traditional design of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the wheat ears motif on the reverse. While most of the 1943 steel pennies were produced as expected, a small number of them were minted with significant errors, such as the rare 1943 copper penny. These copper pennies are the real treasures among collectors, fetching hundreds of thousands of dollars at auctions. However, even a regular 1943 steel penny, especially in pristine condition, can command a high price in the auction market. Now, let's talk about the 1943 Lincoln Steel wheat 1 cent coin in dirty condition. While its aesthetic appearance may not be perfect, this coin still holds substantial value due to its historical importance and rarity. Even a coin in less than ideal condition can fetch impressive amounts. When we say dirty condition, we're referring to a coin that has significant wear, tarnishing, or residue from years of handling. This type of wear doesn't diminish the coin's historical importance or inherent value. Rather, it adds character and reminds collectors of its long journey through history. In today's auction market, a 1943 Lincoln Steel wheat penny in dirty condition can still bring in a substantial amount. While the value of a coin is highly dependent on its condition, collectors are often willing to pay a premium for a piece of history, especially when it is as rare and significant as this one. Coins in dirty condition might range in value from $30,000 to $50,000, but in some rare cases, depending on the specific wear and provenance, the price can escalate well beyond that. These coins remain highly sought after due to their historical significance and the fascinating wartime story behind them. Mintage plays a significant role in the value of the 1943 Lincoln steel wheat penny. The U.S. Mint produced over 1 billion steel pennies in 1943, but this vast mintage doesn't dilute the rarity of high-grade examples. In fact, the majority of these coins were circulated extensively and are in poor condition, making high-grade examples incredibly rare and valuable. Moreover, the presence of errors or distinctive features, such as those found in certain misstruck coins, further increases the appeal of this particular coin. Collectors are deeply interested in the 1943 Lincoln steel penny, not just because of its rarity, but because of the sheer historical significance of the coin. This coin tells a story of wartime ingenuity, scarcity, and the resourcefulness of the American government during one of the most turbulent times in history. As a result, the market for these coins remains incredibly strong, and demand continues to outpace supply. Now let's move on to our second coin, the 1940 Abraham Lincoln Wheat 1 cent, with a large date and without a mint mark, but with significant damage to the coin. This coin is unique due to the deep cut around the edges of the coin, along with heavy rust damage. Despite its condition, it's still considered a valuable piece in the collector's market due to its historical importance and the rarity of finding such damaged coins. The 1940 Lincoln Wheat penny was minted as part of a long-standing tradition of pennies bearing the image of Abraham Lincoln. The design of the Lincoln Wheat penny, created by sculptor Victor David Brenner, has become one of the most recognizable coin designs in the history of American currency. The 1940 coin is part of the larger series of Lincoln pennies, which were first introduced in 1909. The design featured the profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and two stalks of wheat on the reverse, symbolizing the agricultural foundation of the United States. The 1940 Lincoln Wheat penny, specifically the large date version without a mint mark, was produced in high numbers. The mintage for this coin was well over 1 billion, meaning that finding one in uncirculated condition is relatively rare. However, a coin in damaged or rusted condition, like the one we're examining today, is far less common. It's essential to understand that while this coin has significant wear and damage, it is still considered valuable because of its rarity and historical context. The damage to the 1940 Lincoln Wheat penny in question, specifically the deep cuts around the coin's edge, significantly reduces its aesthetic appeal, but it doesn't completely destroy its value. In fact, coins with substantial damage can sometimes carry a certain mystique among collectors, especially when the damage is unusual or rare. The deep-cut marks on this coin might suggest that it was struck with a damaged die or was mishandled in some way during its production or circulation. Regardless of the cause of the damage, the coin remains valuable due to its rarity and historical significance. The rust damage on this coin further complicates its condition. Rusting is a natural process that occurs when a metal is exposed to moisture and oxygen over time. In the case of this penny, it appears to have been subjected to harsh environmental conditions that cause significant corrosion. Rusted coins, especially those that have been circulated for decades, are not uncommon. However, when you find a coin that is both rare and heavily damaged, it can make for an interesting addition to a collection, especially for those focused on the history of damaged coins. In terms of market value, a heavily damaged coin like the 1940 Lincoln Wheat penny with deep cuts and rust can still command a high price at auction. Even in its damaged state, the coin is an important part of American numismatic history. In fact, the rarity of such damaged pieces often increases their desirability, especially among collectors who specialize in coins with unusual features. The value of this coin in today's market could range anywhere from $50,000 to $80,000, depending on the specifics of the damage and any additional factors such as provenance or unique features. The interest in damaged coins has been on the rise in recent years as collectors seek to acquire pieces that are not only valuable but also tell a unique story. A coin like the 1940 Lincoln wheat penny, with its deep cuts and rust damage, speaks to a particular moment in history when the coin was mishandled or subjected to harsh conditions. It's a tangible reminder of how these coins were used and circulated by everyday people. The appeal of such coins also lies in the collector's fascination with error or damaged coins, which are often seen as rarities that offer a glimpse into the production process. While collectors typically strive for pristine examples, damaged coins hold a different kind of appeal, one rooted in the unusual and the rare. For collectors, the 1940 Lincoln wheat penny with deep cuts and rust damage is a piece that tells a different kind of story, one of wear, misuse, and survival through the ages. In conclusion, the 1940 Lincoln wheat penny with deep cuts and rust damage offer collectors a rare opportunity to own pieces of American history. Despite their less than perfect condition, these coins command impressive values in the market due to their rarity, historical significance, and unique characteristics. The market for these coins continues to grow, and with demand continuing to rise, their value is likely to increase in the future. Next up, let's begin with one of the most valuable coins in the Lincoln Wheat Penny series, the 1955 Abraham Lincoln Wheat 1-cent coin. This coin is renowned among collectors, not just because of its vintage status, but also due to the remarkable history behind its release and its extremely high value in today's market. The 1955 Lincoln Wheat Penny was struck as part of the regular series of pennies produced by the U.S. Mint between 1909 and 1958. The coin features the iconic design of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner. On the reverse side, the coin depicts two wheat ears surrounding the words 1 cent, a design that was used for nearly 50 years. But what makes the 1955 coin so special? The answer lies in its error, a unique feature that has propelled its value to staggering heights in today's market. The 1955 coin is often referred to as the 1955 double-die obverse penny. This error occurred due to a mistake during the minting process. Essentially, the coin was struck twice, creating a doubling effect on the date and the lettering. The most noticeable feature of this error is the doubled 5 in the date, which is clearly visible under magnification. It's important to note that this error was not intentional, and such mistakes are relatively rare in coin production. However, the doubling effect on the 1955 penny is one of the most famous and highly prized errors in the history of U.S. coinage. In fact, this particular error has given the coin its status as one of the most valuable pennies in circulation today. Now, let's talk about the market value. While the condition of the coin heavily influences its price, even a 1955 large-date penny in circulated condition can fetch tens of thousands of dollars at auction. A coin that is in extremely fine condition can reach even higher prices, especially when it is verified by top coin certification services such as the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation or Professional Coin Grading Service. For example, a well-preserved 1955 double-die obverse penny can reach values exceeding $300,000 in some cases. In 2021, a coin in near-mint condition sold at auction for an astounding $350,000, a testament to the rarity and high demand for this historical error coin. Collectors are especially drawn to the 1955 double-die obverse because of its famous minting mistake and its representation of one of the most iconic U.S. coins, the Lincoln Wheat Penny. The historical significance of the 1955 Lincoln Wheat Penny adds to its allure. The 1950s were a time of great change in the United States, marked by post-War II prosperity and the rise of the baby boomer generation. Coins from this era often hold a certain nostalgic value for collectors who remember seeing these coins in circulation during their youth. As the decades have passed, the 1955 double-die penny has become more and more scarce, making it all the more valuable to numismatists and investors alike. Additionally, the appeal of this coin is bolstered by the enduring popularity of Abraham Lincoln as an American icon. Lincoln is one of the most admired presidents in U.S. history, and the Lincoln Wheat Penny remains one of the most widely collected coins in the world. This blend of historical significance, error rarity, and popularity continues to drive up demand for the 1955 Lincoln Wheat Penny. As for the design features, the obverse of the 1955 penny is classic and timeless. The bust of Abraham Lincoln is depicted in profile, facing left, with the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" above and below his portrait. The reverse features two stalks of wheat, with the words "United States of America" and "E Pluribus Unum" encircling the coin. The overall design remains one of the most beloved in U.S. coinage history. The 1955 double-die obverse penny remains a standout piece in any collection. Whether you're a seasoned collector or someone just starting to explore the world of rare coins, this is a coin that commands attention. Its market value, driven by the rarity of the era and the continued collector interest, ensures that it remains one of the most valuable pennies in the world today. Next up, we have another iconic coin in the Lincoln Wheat Penny series, the 1918 Lincoln Wheat 1-cent coin. While the 1955 double-die obverse penny is famous for its error, the 1918 Lincoln Wheat Penny stands out for its historical significance and rarity in today's market. This coin, like many others in the early years of the Lincoln Wheat Penny series, carries with it a rich story that goes far beyond its mintage. The 1918 Lincoln Wheat Penny was struck during a time of immense global change. The world was in the midst of World War I, and the U.S. was heavily involved in the conflict. The coin was produced by the U.S. Mint as part of a broader effort to fund the war and maintain the nation's economy. Abraham Lincoln, already a symbol of freedom and unity, was chosen to appear on the obverse of the coin. His profile was engraved by the renowned artist Victor David Brenner, marking the start of a design that would last for decades. Unlike the 1955 penny, the 1918 Lincoln Wheat Penny is not an error coin, but it remains highly coveted for other reasons. Its age, its association with a pivotal moment in history, and its relatively low mintage compared to other years make it an attractive piece for collectors. The coin is also notable for being part of the early years of the Lincoln series, and its scarcity in certain conditions only adds to its value. In terms of market value, the 1918 Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark in circulated condition can still fetch a significant price at auction, although it may not reach the astronomical figures of the 1955 double-die penny. However, coins in high grades, particularly those that have been professionally graded as very fine or extremely fine, can still see values reach over $20,000 to $40,000 in today's market. In some cases, such coins have sold for as much as $50,000, depending on their condition and provenance. What makes the 1918 penny even more desirable is its role as a key date in the Lincoln Wheat Penny series. Collectors often seek out coins from this period because they represent a link to the early 20th century and the legacy of Abraham Lincoln. Additionally, coins from this era are becoming increasingly rare as many were lost or melted down over time. While the 1918 penny does not have the dramatic error that boosts the 1955 version's value, its place in history and its relatively low mintage give it substantial collector interest. During World War I, the U.S. Mint was facing challenges in production, and fewer coins were struck in certain years. The 1918 penny, with its understated beauty and historical relevance, is a perfect example of how a seemingly simple coin can hold immense value decades after its initial release. The design of the 1918 Lincoln Wheat Penny remains largely unchanged from the earlier years of the series. On the obverse, we see a detailed portrait of Abraham Lincoln, surrounded by the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." The reverse of the coin features two stalks of wheat, symbolizing America's agrarian roots, with the inscription "United States of America" above and "E Pluribus Unum" below. The coin's design is elegant and reflective of the nation's values at the time. Overall, the 1918 Lincoln Wheat Penny is a highly sought-after coin for its historical context, scarcity, and connection to the legacy of Abraham Lincoln. Its market value continues to grow as collectors recognize its place in American numismatic history. Whether you're a seasoned collector or a newcomer to the hobby, the 1918 penny represents an important milestone in the world of rare U.S. coins. And that concludes our deep dive into all of the most valuable Abraham Lincoln Wheat 1-cent coins. These coins, each with its own fascinating history and unique features, showcase the enduring appeal of U.S. coinage and the ever-growing value of rare and historically significant coins. Whether you're looking to start your own collection or simply want to learn more about these iconic pieces of American history, these two pennies are sure to leave a lasting impression. Thank you for watching this episode of Valuable Coins. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content about rare and valuable coins from around the world. And as always, happy collecting!